All advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. There it is. Get it out. Oh, boy, it's Landlord-Tenant Day. But, you know, we answer all kinds of legal questions, and we're happy to have it themed on Landlord-Tenant. Those are very common questions, important issues, affect a lot of people. So are land use issues, so are car accidents, so are family law issues. Everything legally is generally important, particularly if it affects you at the moment. Edna, you're on WHP 580 with attorney Carl Rominger. My talk line number, by the way, is 540-0580. What's going on, Edna?
Well, I had an apartment built onto my son's house up around Ebensburg, Altoona area. Well, he passed away. I never had anything down in writing, but I do have all the receipts of what I put in the apartment. And I knew my daughter-in-law was in dire straits for money, so I told her to go ahead and rent the apartment, and she could have the money. Now, I wonder, I am 80 years old, so I may at one point want to move up there and get rid of the house I have here because it's a little bigger.
All right.
And I don't have any, my children are all passed away. So anyway, I was wondering what my rights are.
Well, you built the apartment, you paid, let's assume it was your son's and your daughter-in-law's house, I assume.
Yes.
And you built the apartment right onto the house?
Attached right to the house.
Okay, so it's now become a fixture to real estate. So it really belongs to the deed owner. But you can sue them under the concept. I'm just saying sue. You don't have to sue, but I'm saying if there was a knockdown, drag-out fight, you could sue under the concept called unjust enrichment. Okay. What you probably want to do is go to the daughter and say, okay, why don't we enter in a written agreement that specifies that at any time you can have the apartment, use of the apartment for the remainder of your life, and if she's unwilling to do that, then you may want to consider some legal action to try to recoup your investment into the apartment.
Well, I saw a lawyer down here, and he told me that if she ever sells that house, I can put a lien on it.
Well, yeah, but here's the problem. If at some point you go to sue her, I guess the question is, when did you realize that she wasn't planning on paying you, okay?
Yeah.
And if a statute of limitations for breach of contract would come up with 4 years. So if she told you one day, like, I'm never going to pay you for this, and then you wait till she sells the house, but she doesn't sell the house for 4.5 years, then your lawsuit's probably no good because you were aware that she wasn't going to pay you 4.5 years previous to the filing of the lawsuit. So to me, it would make sense to push the issue now with her, not hard, but gently.
Yeah, I don't want to cause her any heartache.
No, and do it now while everybody's in agreement. In other words, I'm letting you rent this, make money on it. So why don't we just keep doing that, but we'll just sign a little paperwork here that'll guarantee me certain things.
That I can live there if the need be.
Correct.
That's all I'm interested in is what my rights are, because this house here is getting where it's much more than I need to take care of.
I would just recommend proactively taking care of it. That's what I would recommend.
Okay, so I should check into it right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't wait till after the fact, because later things become more difficult.
Right. So what's it, like a 4-year thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a 4-year statute of limitations from when you realize there's a problem. And here, I mean, I'm not sure but unjust enrichment is your best claim, okay? And you might want to just go ahead and just, like I say, nail her down now while everything's agreeable, because the mists of time are going to come into this, and later it's going to be harder to argue what the apartment was for or not for. I mean, you may not even have this other agreement to let her rent it out in writing, you know? And she may try to assert that this apartment was really a gift and that you weren't really ever intending to move into it or weren't sure if you were going to move into it, so you just gave it to them, you know, as a gift.
Yeah.
All right?
that sounds like I should check into it right away.
Yep.
In a nice way.
Uh-huh.
And I want to stay friends with her and so forth.
It can be done in a very nice way, which is simply to say, hey, I talked to a lawyer, just wanted to make sure the apartment would be available to me. How does this work? And they told me, well, that we don't want to end up in a fight later, so we just want to put our agreement in writing today.
Okay, well, I certainly thank you for your information.
All right, good luck.
And bye, thanks.
Let's see here. I always cut everybody short, but that button just sometimes falls too fast. 540-0580. Rick, what's going on?
Yes, hey, Carl. I got a question about being stopped for marijuana. Here's the deal. 21-year-old son was in a parking lot, and policeman came up to him, asked him to roll down the window. The car smelled. There was no smoking at that time. The car had still smell to it. My son was very cooperative. In fact, he did have some marijuana on him, less than 3 grams. The officer searched the car, found paraphernalia, and cited my son for paraphernalia. My question is, which is a more serious charge, paraphernalia or possession of less than 3 grams?
Well, what's a more serious charge? They're both misdemeanors.
Okay.
One's an ungraded misdemeanor, the marijuana charge. The other one's a graded misdemeanor of the 3rd degree. Marijuana carries a maximum of 30 days, possible incarceration or probation. Paraphernalia carries a maximum of 1 year of incarceration or probation. Wow. However, marijuana carries a 6-month driver's license suspension, and paraphernalia does not.
I see.
So which one's more serious? I guess the question is which one's more serious. Now, here's the other weird one. We sometimes see with employers down the road, okay? The term paraphernalia or drug paraphernalia is not self-explanatory. So they see that you were charged with drug paraphernalia, but they don't know if you were shooting heroin, smoking crack, or rolling joints.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the marijuana charge, sometimes to future employers, they go, oh, it was just marijuana. Who cares?
Yeah.
So which one's more serious? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
However, if it's a first offense,
yes,
then we're probably going to want to put them into the ARD program.
Okay.
And avoid a conviction at all, and then we don't have to even ask that question.
Okay. Next question to you is, he should have an attorney to go to the hearing?
I would never counsel anybody to go to a criminal hearing alone.
I'm sorry?
I would never counsel anybody to go to a criminal hearing alone.
Okay.
Too many things happen, and I sometimes even have clients where I give them explicit instructions. They tell me, I don't want to hire an attorney, or I don't want to pay you to be there, and I'm like, okay, well, here's what you're going to do. I can write it down on a piece of paper, and they come back and they go, well, it didn't work out that way. And I say, why? And they're like, well, when I asked, they said no. And I'm like, but it would have worked that way. Why did it not work that way? And later when I find out, the judge goes, well, your guy just came in here and kind of said nothing. And the cop offered him, this lame deal. And he said yes. And I was like, are you sure you want this? You don't want a continuance? And the guy's like, no. And then later, when you quiz them about that, they go, "Well, I got scared. I wasn't sure what to say." And so my point is, it's always better to have the lawyer there, even on minor things.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, I'll probably be calling you.
All right, we can help. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
540-0580. Carl Rominger here. Tom, what's your question? Hey, Tom.
Hello.
Yep.
Hey. Back when I was 18, I got in trouble with the law.
Okay.
And it's on my record. From what they told me, it was a Class 4 felony.
What state?
30, Pennsylvania. It was in Dawson County.
Class 4 felony?
Yeah, they said it was the lowest.
That's a felony of the 3rd degree.
Okay. I broke into a place.
Criminal trespass, felony 3. Okay.
Okay. And basically, I went to court. I got sentenced, the whole 9 yards. This was almost 20 years ago.
There are no expungements in Pennsylvania for guilty pleas or convictions.
So there's no
for felonies.
So I can't get that off my record.
The only way to get off your record is to go through a pardon first and get pardoned, and then you can get it expunged.
Okay.
So you got to go through the governor's office.
Okay.
Lengthy process, almost impossible to get, but maybe worth applying for.
Okay.
Go to the governor's website to get the application to see what you need.
Okay.
Okay.
Governor's website. All right. That's all I need to know.
All right, boss.
Bye.
Bye. Carl Rominger here. Back after the break. Oh, boy, oh, boy. 540-0580. Carl Romager here answering your legal questions. I know if the sun's kind of getting shaded. Are we going to get any rain this afternoon, Shane? Is it going to rain? It's going to swell up and rain. Pretty hot today. Jason, you're on WHP 580. What's going on?
Hey, Carl. How are you?
Good.
Hey, you were talking the other week about getting pulled over. I think it was Susquehanna or Susquehanna, somewhere. You said they wanted to test the tint on your windows.
Yes.
And you just refused to roll up your window. Did I hear that correctly?
That's correct.
So my question is, what can you refuse when you get pulled over? What all can you refuse? I mean, they can't make you roll your window up. They can't make you get out of the car. How does all that work?
Now, he could have eventually, I guess, gotten a warrant and impounded my car, you know.
Oh, so they could have impounded your car.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if he'd gotten the warrant, you know, but for tint, I'm not sure that they're going to go through the whole process. I also had an extra hour and a half to burn that morning because my original plan was I was going to take my newspaper and go read it at a cigar shop and drink a coffee before my hearing in Dauphin County. So I had lots of time on my hands when I staked out my position. And it did. They had me there for about an hour while they were trying to figure out what to do. They eventually wrote me up for 4 summary citations for just everything. The license plate holder was an issue with them, too. So, anyhow, long story short, though, the answer is I had a feeling he was going to want to see the tint. So before he got up to the car, I had rolled the windows down. And he, you know, of course, that's what he wanted. I want to check your tint. And I'm like, well, that's fine. He's like, well, I need you to roll your window up. And I'm like, no. I mean, why? Is there a law that says I have to roll my window up? I mean, if he wants to get a warrant and extract the window from the door, I guess he's free to do that.
So you were just kind of being ornery. Okay.
Well, and ultimately I beat all 4 tickets. And then, of course, you know, just like anything else, it resurfaces in my DUI stop video of the same township years later when they're talking about it because they're still miffed over it.
Interesting. No, I just was curious if that was something. I mean, I didn't know if there was any way they could force you to roll your window up.
They can't force you to do it, but they can impound your car. I mean, you're not required. Listen, if you've got 2 kilos of cocaine under your kitchen sink, all right, and the police show up with a search warrant, you don't have to show them where it's at. You don't have to help them. In fact, showing them where it's at is kind of what? Self-incriminating?
Right.
So the short answer is you can sit back on the sofa and do nothing. On the other hand, as they dutifully dismantle your entire house piece by piece, you may come to the conclusion that hinting that it's under the kitchen cabinet would be a good idea, right?
Right.
But they're still probably going to tear your house apart anyhow. So my point on that is no, I didn't have to do it, but their remedy could have been to, like I say, impound the car and get a search warrant to roll the windows up. And I'm not sure because, you know, if they want to impound the car, they may say, well, we rolled the window up for safety, right?
On what basis could they get a warrant, though? I mean, just because he drove by and looked like your windows were tinted?
Probable cause, right. And that's the interesting question. Does he have
probable cause?
Does he have probable cause to believe criminal activity is afoot at that point? And, of course, if the warrant wasn't sufficient, then even if they could test it, I could get the results thrown out later.
Yeah, that's what really why I wanted to call and ask you, because it was just the whole thing was, when I logically tried to figure it out, it's like, well, even if they pull you over, what was the reason? Is it really probable cause driving?
Right.
Saying, hey,
they'd have made something up. Come on. You know how this works.
No, I know that. I got pulled over one time getting passed head on, and when I asked him why he pulled me over, he said my registration sticker was out of date, even though it wasn't.
Right. Or my other famous one is...
And that's on the license plate.
How's this sound? I thought your registration sticker was out of date.
That's what he said. I thought your registration.
Right. How is that? Right. How does that one work? Right. Because all you have to do as a police officer, all the cops out there listening, here you go. Here's your new reasonable suspicion. I thought I saw. Because it's your mindset that matters.
All right. Thanks, Carl.
All right, my friend. Yeah, I taught a police officer class one time on DUI, and I was talking to them about, you know, getting better and more aggressive about pulling people over. I think it's working based on all the DUIs that have occurred. Can't imagine why I would do that. Brian, you're on WHP 580.
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah.
Like I was telling the screener, I just found out last time my wife called me. I was driving a truck on my way home now. That our daughter was on the computer. She's 14.
Okay.
And she said that she was threatened
by, I don't know who. She said they sent pictures of who they were, their faces, but whether they're real or not, I couldn't tell you. And they said if she didn't send naked pictures of herself to them, that they were going to find her and kill her.
Well, you guys need to call the police and have them come over and...
Well, the thing, I just want to make sure if I need to get an attorney first, because she did send them and she's 14, so that's considered child porn. Even though she's the one that sent them and she was threatened, I just want to...
Oh, good Lord. The answer is if she sent pictures, she could be in trouble, theoretically. Right. On the other hand, I'm wondering, listen, there was just a case down in New York, and I heard it on the news where a girl said that 4 men, young men assaulted her, held her, and fondled her, and did all this stuff to her, and then magically she got away, right?
Right.
And it turned out she was kissing her new boyfriend on the street and thought maybe somebody had saw it, so she got scared and went home and told her parents in the world. And then the police were on a manhunt for these 4,
Well, she said she still had... I asked her, do you still have the emails all? Mm-hmm. Of what they said? She said, yes, I do. They're still there.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, I would, listen, here's the answer. It probably wouldn't hurt for some police involvement here, although, and I don't think, what county are you in?
We're in Mifflin County.
Yeah, you'll be fine up there. That's a sensible prosecutor, sensible judges. You'll be fine.
Okay.
All right. I would call the police and report it. I don't think she'll get prosecuted. If she does, though, like I say, they're not gonna give her a permanent record up there. They're very sensible.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, that's which counties would Carl say aren't sensible? Haha, that's for another day. But I sometimes wonder about that because you have to just make sure you don't have a mentally insane prosecutor or something who's going to try to make a issue out of that. But what a strange thing for kids to do. Somebody threatened me on the computer. Well, I guess I could put something threatening on Facebook. Well, who knows? I said there's going to be more to that story somehow. Bob, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Carl, I got a question. A couple months ago, I had some X-rays done at a doctor's office, and everything went normal. But anyway, they sent it to my insurance. My insurance paid about half of it, as they usually do, and the doctor accepted the payment. Then a couple months later, I got the bill for the rest of the damages. As far as what the insurance didn't pay. Mm-hmm. It's only about $200, and I just didn't think anything of it. And so I got a letter from a collection agency about paying it. I was just wondering, do I have to pay that or not?
Well, let me ask it this way.
Okay.
You're being asked to pay what amount? The copay?
No, it's the difference between, say they wanted $400, my insurance only paid them $200. They gladly accepted that, and then they sent me the bill for the rest.
Right. Well, the short answer is it depends on the understanding with the insurance. Usually there's an insurance rate.
Yeah.
So I'm not clear with whether the doctor is billing you $400 and accepting $200 insurance, and that's okay under the plan, or whether he's supposed to accept that as full payment. You need to talk with your insurance people.
Okay.
And if they say the doctor's supposed to accept their payment as full bill and just a copay for you, then you should be fine. If, on the other hand, your insurance contract is they'll pay 50% or whatever, then you're liable for it.
Yeah, okay.
All right?
But they always paid partial, then, but I never got another bill for it, but for this time I did. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Robert, you're on WHP 580. Hey, Robert.
Hello.
Yeah, what's going on?
I just had a curious question about Facebook.
Yep.
Okay, if an ex-wife goes and posts totally terrible lies about you, and it goes off to multiple people throughout the community, and affects you and everything from Cub Scouts to PTO, is there anything you can do about it?
You can sue for defamation.
Okay, and then I already talked to one attorney. She said it'd be at least $2,000, and she says it wasn't worth it because she took down her post after a week. But I'm still dealing with the aftermath. So if you're poor, I guess you're just sort of out of luck then.
Yeah, because lawyers aren't going to take them on contingency fees because, for $600, a third or even a half of $2,000 for all the work we'd have to do,
right?
It's not worth it. So you got to really be harmed.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you.
Good luck. I want to remind you guys to, if you're over in Carlisle by the Walmart area, Applebee's is there as well to give you the vicinity. Right off Interstate 81, the Hanover Street exit. Carlisle Beer and Cigar. They've got an awesome cigar selection. It's not as huge as the other one I've told you about. However, they have access to all the same cigars. And if you're looking for a particular cigar or looking for a quality cigar, it's a good place to go. It's at 770 Southwest Street over there by the Walmart. They've also got a great beer selection, and they're ramping up the micro and craft brew selection there. And again, it's the kind of place where if there's a particular beer you're looking for, you tell them, and they will find it for you. So either give them a call, 249-2434, Carlisle Beer and Cigar, or stop in and be sure and tell them Carl sent you. Say, hey, Carl Rominger sent me over here and said you've got good beer and good cigars. And then report back to me on Facebook what you find over there, what you like. I'll be curious to see. I got to go to break, guys. We got one more half hour of answering your legal questions, 540-0580. See you after the break. Oh, let's see. Legal unions, Roosevelt.
Hey, how's it going, Carl?
How you been?
Not too bad. By the way, I like that commercial Shane does, man. Get Rominger on the phone. I just love it.
You know, they hired RJ they got RJ to do the voice of Bob Durgan too, which is kind of like the funny thing to me.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a great piece, man. That was good. Look, I'm wondering, I listen to you all the time, and you talk about how police can lie to you, but you can't do nothing about it. You can't lie to them.
Right.
You tell all the time how they don't record, when they have you in there in consultations. And I'm like, well, what's with lawyers? Don't you guys have lawyers? Can't you lobby? Can't you get this change? You guys are lawyers. Why don't you get this change?
Well, the prosecutors are the ones who block it. You know, they're very politically popular. Prosecutors don't want their job being made more difficult, and sometimes the things that the police do on the front end make their job more difficult. So they'd rather go to juries without those tapes, without that information, and just rely on the common sense of the jury. In fact, anytime you hear a prosecutor say common sense, he's trying to say, don't worry about technicalities in the evidence. Don't worry about the burden of proof. Just use your common sense. Convict the guy. We wouldn't have charged him if he wasn't guilty. At least that's how I feel about it.
Well, you're right, but what about lawyers? Why you guys ain't trying to get that changed, though?
Oh, well, there's been fights to try to change it, but I'm just trying to say is that the political wins, the legislature, and only in a few states. You have to have like a breakthrough moment when the police finally get caught on something really big, where some guy gets executed or almost executed, and then they realize that had it been taped. Or this famous, I burnt my notes. What do you mean you burnt your notes? Yeah, I burnt my notes. Oh, okay. You burnt all your notes. Okay. All those kinds of weird things that happen in cases, but you need like a spectacular media event before people do anything.
Why don't lawyers, if they have a union or something, why don't y'all have debates with any of the candidates to press them to get this stuff changed during a debate? Why don't you try to hold them to the fire?
Well, because the public doesn't care. That's our real problem. Our real problem is the average public citizen reads the newspaper, and I love nothing better than when I get a guy who comes in with a set of criminal charges who says he's innocent. I'm like, let me guess. Every time you've ever read the newspaper about anybody charged, you're like, oh, my God, that guy is disgusting. Oh, my God, that guy should go to jail for 1,000,000 years. Oh, my God, I can't believe that guy stole. And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? You're that guy now.
There you go.
All right, Roosevelt.
Carl.
Thank you.
Take it easy. I enjoy your show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
Hey, Roosevelt, you're overestimating our political power as lawyers, I think. Joe, you're on WHP 580. Joe.
Oh, hey. Okay, Carl. Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have 5 handguns, okay? 2 of them I purchased myself. The other 3, the other 2 of them my wife bought for me, and another one my daughter bought for me, okay? I'm carrying one. It's a Glock 27 40 caliber, but that's in my wife's name, but I have a permit to carry. Am I okay doing that, or should I be carrying my 38 Special that's in my name, or how's that work with the law, is what I'm wondering.
Well, there's no requirement that a husband and wife can't carry each other's gun.
We can. It's okay.
Yeah. You're not. Remember, your permit's not for any particular gun,
Okay.
and I could loan a handgun to somebody else, and vice versa.
Okay, because I was worried about that because the Glock is a lot lighter than the 38 Taurus or the 1911 45 ACP. So I'm okay with that then.
And in some states, your permit would be for a particular gun, but here it's not. So there's nothing to worry about.
Okay, and what about if I ever wanted to sell one of the guns? How would that work out? I mean, if it's in my wife's name, could I sell one, or if I wanted to buy something different?
Yeah, either one of you can sell it because a husband can transfer it to a wife, and a wife can transfer it to a husband without need of doing anything except handing it over.
Okay, and what about the one that my daughter bought me? Is that
same there? Parent-child.
She's my stepdaughter, so
parent-child.
So it's okay.
That'd be my position. That, or she gave it to your mother, and her mother gave it to you.
Okay. All right, so I'm safe that way. Okay, good.
All right, brother.
All right. That's good. Okay, thanks.
All right, good luck.
Okay, see ya.
540-0580. Jim, you're on WHP 580. What's going on?
Hey, Carl, I got a quick question. My parents signed a contract to purchase a new home in a development that was being built.
Okay.
They put down $25,000 deposit that allowed them to start putting some of the siding colors that they chose and some of the other equipment in the home. But the contract was contingent upon them selling their other home.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a 6-month time frame since it was new construction to do that.
Okay.
The 6 months came and went, and they were not able to sell their home, and it was listed the entire time as per the contract with the agency.
Right.
They attempted to get their money back, and the builder refused to give them their money. Now, they've contacted 2 different attorneys, and both attorneys say it has to go through arbitration, which is going to cost them between $5,000 and $10,000 to go to arbitration to get their $25,000 back.
Well, I'd have to look at the contract they signed.
Yeah, both of them say both attorneys said that the builder cannot hold their money, and they're not sure why he's doing this.
Yeah, and the answer then is that there may be an arbitration clause in the contract.
There is.
So you have to. You've contractually agreed that if either party doesn't perform or refuses to perform, that you have to go through that process. They could have struck that from the contract and gone with just a litigation piece. So, and I understand realistically, maybe the builder wouldn't have, done the building. But yeah, and I'm not sure that arbitration would cost that much money. It sounds like a very clear-cut issue.
It basically is, and the only clause was contingency upon them selling their home, and it has to be listed for this time. The builder offered them an additional $10,000 off the sale price so they could lower the price of their home by $10,000, which they did. It still did not sell, and he still refuses to give their money back. So my parents are either, at this point, going to arbitration with it, but they're hoping with the market improving, the home will sell in the near future, and they can try and place a lien on it, which will prevent him from selling the home completely.
Yeah, that's correct. They can put a lien on it. I think they should probably go push the arbitration issue. I think the real issue is the builder probably doesn't have any money, right?
Correct.
And that's the real issue.
He hasn't filed bankruptcy, which is another concern, because if he does that, they may lose the entire amount.
Correct. So this is kind of a negotiating position versus a, legal rights position. Sometimes asserting all your rights isn't in your own best interest.
If they go to arbitration, he's found at fault for breach of the contract because he should have returned their money. Are they able to recoup the arbitration costs, or is that divided equally?
It depends on what the contract says, but generally those costs are not recoverable unless there's language to that end.
Yeah, the one attorney brought up the fact of deception based on it, which would allow them to recover 3 times the cost, I think it was.
Yeah, if you got to get outside the arbitration clause on that, I think.
For that, yeah.
But you might be able to sidestep it if you could prove the builder knew this at the time. But the builder sort of built a little CYA in there because that lowering, even being willing to lower the price. I mean, it seems like the builder was trying to make this work. So it's going to be hard to argue that the builder didn't intend for it to work when he did the original transaction. See what I mean? To be fraud, to be kind of a fraud standard, it's got to be pretty clear that at the time he took the money and did this stuff, he was hoping to wax your parents.
Well, the offer for the $10,000 came after the 6 months contract was up, and my parents had contacted and said, "Look, we can't sell our home. We'd like our money back at this point." and then he offered it at that point, but that was never a part of the contract in the 6-month time frame.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, but I'm trying to say is it doesn't sound like he created this contract for the purpose of defrauding him. So I'm just saying getting outside the four corners is not going to be easy.
Easy.
All right?
Okay.
Here, that's the best I can tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are always tough situations. 540-0580. We got 15 minutes left here to answer your legal questions, so get here. If you don't, go to Facebook.com and look up Carl Rominger, or go to RomingerLaw.com to learn more about our firm. If you can hear us, odds are we can help you if you have a legal problem or legal situation. If we don't do it, we know who does, and we're always happy to point you in the right direction if we can't do it. See you after the break. All right, we're back here. Ray, you want to talk about cursing at people?
Yeah, the other day I came out to my car and someone had parked so close that I couldn't get in it. And I started yelling and screaming. Before I realized the person was sitting in the car. Anyway, they backed out and said, I got your license, I'm calling the cops. So I just was curious, is that illegal?
To curse at somebody?
Well, yeah, I wasn't really cursing at them. I was just cursing, but
yeah, I mean, well, here's the answer. Because of free speech, you can raise your middle finger to a police officer, and they can't arrest you for it. Okay.
All right.
So the threshold for disorderly conduct is fighting words.
Uh-huh.
So just calling somebody, a yin yang or some more choice terms, probably doesn't rise to fighting words. Now, I understand you're saying I wasn't directing them at them.
No.
And that would be a defense. But what I'm just trying to say is it depends on what you say and how far you go.
Right. Yeah, I was more just with different words, just saying, "Gosh darn it, stinking persons," that kind of thing.
Right. Now, if you use a racial epithet. That's your freedom of speech, but it's more likely to also be considered to be a fighting word, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
I have a theory about that. I have a theory which says that if you use a racial epithet and the other guy punches you, he probably is allowed to punch you. Just as if you're sleeping with another guy's wife and he discovers you, he's probably allowed to punch you as well.
Right.
All right?
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Good luck. Those are just some rules of thumb I have. James, you're on the WHP 580.
Yeah, hi, Carl. I have a question in regards to judgment I got against a tenant a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what happened was the tenant agreed to make payments against the judgment. It was over $4,000. He made one payment of like $250, and then he didn't do anything else after that.
Okay.
And I tried to do a sheriff's sale collection, and they wouldn't do it. They said once he made one payment, and I would have to refile and get a whole new judgment and the whole thing all over again. And basically what happened was the guy went off to moved out to Lancaster County. This happened in York. Was living with his girlfriend so he could avoid getting a sheriff's sale against him. I've been able to somewhat track him, but I mean, how long can you go before you can't collect on a judgment like that?
Well, a judgment like that should last for 5 years minimum. And then you can refresh it. So, I mean, theoretically forever, but you can transfer it between counties as well. And it's a landlord-tenant judgment?
It was a York County magistrate.
But was it for a landlord-tenant matter?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can also garnish his wages if you can figure out where he's working.
Okay. All right. He worked for himself at the time. He had a business, like a welding business, machine shop kind of thing. And, it's just I've found that happens when you get these judgments that people kind of dodge getting collection because they go and live with someone else and you can't get a permanent address on them. And then they don't want to collect on them or pursue it unless they have a permanent address.
Right, and that becomes very difficult. And that is a problem. Practicality is, you've got to, if you can't squeeze blood from a stone, you can't even try if you can't find the stone.
Yeah. So is it worth it to come and see you or an attorney to try to pursue it that way? I mean, would I have any more success that way than I would trying to pursue it myself?
My inclination is if you're based on what you're saying, it sounds like you've already made a pretty good effort. An attorney might be able to help, but I'm not sure that it's going to make a difference. Then again, you might be able to work out an arrangement with the attorney to keep a percentage of what they collect, but usually it's 50% or more because the likelihood of collection is so low.
Yeah, and it's navigating all these civil things. When I went to the county, they told me to go to the prothonotary and all that kind of stuff, and they basically said, "Oh, you just got to refile again. We can't do anything for you." And I felt like I was just chasing my tail.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, what we want to do is file your magistrate's judgment into the county and then transfer it to the county where the person's in and then go get them.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, judgments are tough. I mean, they seem like a great idea until you get one. Mike, you're on WHP 580.
Hello.
Yep. What's up, Mike?
Hello. Hey, I got a really deep question for you.
Okay.
I've been living in the city of York all my life, and I got a question about when is it right to kill somebody? I mean, I got jumped one night walking home from work. Two guys were trying to take everything I had away from me, and I was going to grab my knife, and I didn't. I mean, fortunately, a couple of people came out of a bar and helped me out, but, I mean, when is it legal to protect yourself?
It's always legal to protect yourself when you're in fear of serious bodily harm or death.
Well, I was in serious bodily harm. I was getting beat up.
Yeah, I mean, so the answer there is if you under the circumstances, as you believe them to be, a reasonable person would be afraid that they were about to be killed or maimed or have experienced serious bodily injury, then you're entitled to use deadly force to defend.
There was two guys against me. I mean,
right.
But I think people were saying if I pulled my knife and stabbed the guy that I probably would have been the criminal. I mean, the cops actually treated me like I was the criminal.
Yeah, that's the problem, my friend. If you're the only guy who pulls the knife, right, the first thing they go is, who pulled the weapon? Okay, now if the two guys had knives and then you pulled your knife third, you might get a friendlier reception.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to defend my... I mean, the cop actually accused me of being a drug dealer. He said, well, what are you walking around at 1 o'clock in the morning down Market Street? And I'm like, I'm coming home from work. Well, you're not looking for drugs?
Right.
No, I'm not looking for drugs. I'm coming home from work, and these two guys come out of nowhere and start beating me up and want to take everything I got away from me.
Yeah, no, I understand. And so you would have been entitled to use deadly force if those prerequisites apply, and you probably did under the circumstance. But it doesn't mean you wouldn't spend a little time in jail while a guy like me straightens it out.
So I'm gonna spend time in jail for defending my life.
Potentially, yes.
Well, that's just great.
I know, Mike,
really good, don't it?
I know.
The system works really good, don't it?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I got to let you go because I want to grab a few more calls before we run out of time here. Bill, you had a question about helmet cams?
Yeah, this is Bill.
Yep.
I was thinking about getting a helmet cam. I'm a motorcycle rider. I do motorcycle events. And the other thing, it might be questionable, I'm a fire police officer.
Okay.
So would I have a problem in either one of those?
As long as you're in a public area, I mean, I can walk around with my video camera and tape anything I want, right?
Right.
So you can do the same with your, what do I want to say? You can do the same with your helmet cam.
But I probably shouldn't post anything on the internet.
Well, I mean, I can post my videos on the internet, can't I, if I just take a public video?
Yeah. Well, you won't believe how ignorant people are to fire police officers. I mean, the firemen are there doing their job. Everybody praises them. But if you're blocking traffic, holding somebody up, they get real ignorant. And I'd like to film them and put them right on the internet.
And that's an interesting question. Now, of course, you're in your official capacity as the fire police officer there. But I don't know what to tell you, except that some of the videos will probably be very funny and go viral, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, you wouldn't want to get yourself in any trouble. So do you report to anybody as a fire police officer?
Oh, yeah, definitely have lieutenants and captains. And
yeah, so you'd have to talk to your commanding officer, basically. I think they would make the call on that one.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right. Rob, you had a custody question. Hey, Rob.
Yes, Carl. I have a question here. I have both shared legal custody and joint legal custody with my 11-year-old son. My wife left this past year. We're still married. We haven't filed for divorce yet, but we are separated, and we have this custody and support agreement in place. Now, she drops her our son off to her 2 children to play at a neighbor's, which we knew. Very nice lady, and she doesn't charge my wife anything for dropping our son off on her long days when she has to work on Thursday and Friday. I had a situation last week under my custodialship when I had him for that weekend over the holiday that I had to work on Friday to replace Monday, and of course I had to make arrangements with her to pick my son up. I offered to pay her on my own, this neighbor, and she declined, saying no. She says, your son does enough favor because...
You better shoot. I only got 2 seconds left, buddy.
He plays with
What's the question? I only got 2 seconds.
Okay, is there any way of policing this so the prices don't get overinflated? My wife wants me to pay for this per day.
Yeah, you can police it. If the prices get excessive, you can go back to custody court under joint legal custody. All right, guys, go to RomingerLaw.com if you want to learn more. Sorry to cut that caller short, but we ran out of time. I'll see you next week.